Dark Crisis issue 1, Joshua Williamson writing with Daniel Sampier on the art. Uh, we've had some minor crossovers. Obviously, Williamson did a couple of minis and one shots that have kind of related on the build up to this. Justice League Incarnate, Infinite Frontier, but this kind of feels like the first proper event issue 1 we've had in some time.
Yeah. So,
probably the last one was probably Metal. Probably like Death Metal was the last proper event.
Proper crossover, yeah, because that did feel like an event. This does feel like an event. Like, even so, I had a friend reach out and say, does he, because he's interested in this, because, it seems like Nightwing takes the center role, and they're a big Nightwing fan, and wanted to know if he needed to read The Death of the Justice League or Justice League Incarnate. And after fully reading this through, I feel like you can just jump in here, and they do a very good job at summarizing the events of those.
Yeah, I think because it's just one issue, I would probably recommend people read Justice League 75. Hey, it's one issue that sets everything up.
Yeah, I mean, sure, but if you don't, I do feel like Williamson does do a good job here at throwing you in and setting the stakes enough that the Justice League are gone, and there's some strange things afoot across the universe.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's 100% necessary, but I think it's because it's just one issue. I think it's like an easy enough ask to just go read that one thing. Before you.
I did steer him away of the Road 2.
Oh yeah,
like,
skip
you don't need that. You don't need that.
Yeah, you don't need Road 2. It's very unnecessary. Joe, it was a bit of a swerve here because I thought there was Batman narration at the start of this issue, and it swerved as it being Dick Grayson, which I thought was really neat because you turn the page and it's a blue box, and I'm like, oh, it's Nightwing that's talking. It's him being sworn in, not Bruce talking about his oath. So it feels like a big start of a Crisis event because you get the big splash 2-page of all the various versions of Justice Leagues and Titans teams and everything else. But we have this big vigil. Nightwing's making a speech about the death of Justice League and moving forward, all the rest of it. But the main story of this book boils down to John's working with Wally, he's working with others, but ultimately he wants to form a new league. Hal shows up and he's pissed that was set up before. He's like, we're just believing Black Adam's word for this, and everyone's like, well, we looked into it as best we could, but all the villains are starting to rile up and we kind of need to deal with that. So as best we can tell, the story is true.
I do love that too, that Hal being gone for so long and how much stuff has changed, he gets to be that outsider that maybe is just coming back for oh, there's a DC crisis, I'll pick it up. He's like, wait, Black Adam's a good guy now? What the hell? So I did love that perspective.
Yeah, that was neat. Yeah, so Wally and Hal go off, but Wally's going to go look for Barry. Hal's going to go look and find out, what happened to the Justice League. He's going to investigate like a crime, which is neat, right? And John's like, well, what about everything in the world? And one of them says, well, that's what Superman's for. So it's like, hey, you can take care of the planet with everyone else. Like you guys are good.
Yep.
So he looks at the statues and he flies off, and we get this recruiting montage of him going around, and he tries to recruit Yara. Yara turns him down. Obviously, I suspect she's going to be dragged into it later on.
I do like what she says too. She's like, I just had a fight to be Wonder Girl, and you want me to go drag into something new, So I did like her voice, and also from what we read with the future state stuff of these two and their relationship that builds there. I did like that.
It's notable this is the first time they meet. Like, obviously, we've read them meet before in the future, but this is the first time in, chronological order they've met.
Right. So, but I did like that. That was a nice swerve, because here I am going into this thinking like, oh, John's going to put together what we thought was the what was that, G1, G5,
5G.
Yeah. There we go. The 5G era, and it doesn't necessarily seem like that's what he's doing here. Like when Yara turns him down.
Yeah, she turns him down. Jace turns him down. He's like, I'm not your Batman. Ask one of the Robins. Yara even says that almost exact same thing, which is like, I'm not your Wonder Woman. You're like, go away. So, and we get like a montage, and I thought it was interesting. You actually get like some people who turn him down, but some people who say yes. So you get like Swamp Thing saying no, but but you get like Killer Frost or just Frost now, maybe saying, "I don't mind a second chance." So you get like all these varying different reactions to him to being asked. So then he reveals his team to Black Adam. And what's interesting is I thought Damian turned him down. Because he says, "I support you, but John, my father is not dead." But then he's there in the team.
I thought that too, and then when you go back and read it, it's Damian going like, "Yeah, no, I'll help you, but they're not dead. There's something else going on here."
Which, I mean, I think he's probably right, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's comic books, I suspect that. I love Black Adam saying, "Do we need 2 Blue Beetles?" Because I didn't even notice that at first, and then I was like, "Oh yeah, both of them are there."
Yeah. I also love that each on that recruiting thing is how some of the people say no and why they say no. So you get like Peacemaker saying country before multiverse, which tracks with the Peacemaker I'm familiar with. But then like Vixen, not exactly say no, it was like, "Hey, people need my help here more." And then the Flash is going off with Wally. Naomi even gets in here. Harley was the one I was surprised too, because she said "really," and you can read that as like, "Really, you're asking me to join a Justice League?"
I think that's what it's meant to be.
Yeah, but the first read through, she was kind of like, "Really, I don't do teams." Like the whole Suicide Squad.
She's had like 5 teams right now.
Yeah, I know, and that's why it works with the Harley whole thing. But yeah, seeing her there, that is a fun page. So you got Supergirl in a new costume, which I really like, and the Jaime Reyes.
And there's kind of a loose reference to Women of Tomorrow, because she says she just got back.
Yeah.
So
as she's with Crypto.
Yeah.
Too, right. Yeah.
So it's kind of like just saying, yeah, that's kind of subtly in canon.
Yeah. Right. And then you have Dr. Light, the hero version. You have not Killer Frost. You have Booster and Blue Beetle, Frankenstein, what's his name? Aquaman. I was Jackson.
Jackson Hyde,
yeah, and Harley. And what I like here is this really feels like a legacy build, right? Like you can look at a lot of these characters and see, how they're representing here and why they would say yes.
I mean, it's definitely an oddball team though, which is why I love Black Adam's and I actually just noticed he's doing the people's eyebrow. His reaction is the one eyebrow up. But he's like the way 2 Blue Beetles, whatever. My favorite thing about this though is the way this scene ends, where he's like, "Look, this is all very well intentioned, but the world needs protectors, not children. I'm going back to Kandak. They need me, but we both know that there's one person. You're not ready for the role of leading the Justice League, but we both know who is." And then you turn the page, and it's Dick Grayson. Yes, Black Adam gets it.
Dick's getting the shine.
Yeah,
and again, we always, as Dick Grayson fans and as fans of the DC universe too, it's nice to know he kind of is the keystone. Like he's kind of who pulls everybody together because of all his different relationships. So if there is going to be the symbol of hope, of legacy, of all of this stuff, it's all in one package, and that package is Dick Grayson.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's more specific than that. It's the idea that he is the one qualified. He's the one he's the eldest Robin. He's the one who's been trained by Batman. Batman was kind of naturally, at least most of the time, he was the leader of the team because he was the thinker. He was the one that strategized and stuff like that. And it plays back in, way back when we started this show, there was that little flashback story where Batman said one day Dick would lead the Justice League, and I think technically he's about to. It's a technicality because it's not quite the main team that.
No, but that's why I love stuff like this, because I love the oddball Justice Leagues.
Yeah. So it's this idea that like they're going to go to Dick and ask them maybe to be leader, or maybe he'll just fall into the role because shenanigans. Because obviously there's a big cliffhanger that comes up in a little bit, but he's at Titans Academy. We've got other New Teen Titans characters there, making fun of him because he likes doing the circus class, if you want to call it that.
I do love that, and it's so cheesy, but it's also very Dick Grayson. That of course he's gonna teach them to fly without nets.
Yeah, but the big cliffhanger ending, by and large, though, is that a bunch of I'll say B-list villains in the sense that the biggest villains are, of course, all on the they're with Pariah. They're with the they're all the hands of darkness, right?
Right.
Well, the hands, the feet, all the parts of darkness.
All of them.
Yeah. But you got Deathstroke, who obviously we're questioning what his mental state's like, given that he just came back from that weird Lazarus pit that got infected. But he's leading the team, and there was sort of a tease for this earlier back in the candlelight vigil. Dick said something to the effect of, like, we have to keep the candles burning to keep their memories living on. And immediately the next panel is Deathstroke blowing out the candle that he's holding, which I thought it was interesting he was even there in the first place. But that kind of sets up he's got a plan. So the idea that Deathstroke has assembled a team of B-list villains to come after the Titans, and seemingly kills Beast Boy.
Yeah. I don't know if I like that, but it is a crisis.
Raise the stakes, baby.
Yeah.
It's not like they've done anything with Beast Boy in ages anyway. Yeah.
No, but I love Gar. I love, and who knows? The world could reset and Beast Boy will be back, right?
Sure.
Like,
yeah, that's always a possibility with these things.
I'm not. When I say I don't like that, story-wise, like you just said, raise the stakes. As someone that likes Beast Boy, it hurts, and I feel like that's what Williamson's going for, right? Like he's the lovable, affable guy that he, got caught and is almost the sacrifice to the story. But Deathstroke ain't playing. And he, is this the society? Is this something that the society is now, evolved from now that he's been infected by whatever the Lazarus thing was?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, this is just such a minor thing, right? It's not really a big deal. This is a very Connor-esque critique.
Uh-oh.
But so in the art here, they do a thing where you see like Beast Boy through like a panel that's like a scope, right, to show that he's got a gun pointing at him, and then you see like the side shot, and then you get the bang. Now I know the scope's just representative of the gun aiming at him, but he's pointing a handgun at him,
right?
So immediately I sort of I snickered and went, "Where's the scope on this big handgun?"
That was a very Connor quibble. But it just matches thematically because we've seen different heroes targeted throughout.
It's just representative. But normally when this happens, it's because someone's actually using a sniper rifle.
Right.
Whereas here it's just like it's basically just a fancy panel rather than representing the specific actuality of what's happening.
Yes.
That's the big sort of main plot cliffhanger, is that there's this war being waged on Titan's Tower. So presumably the other heroes are going to have to come in and help the Titans, but stakes have been raised. That's a really fun development. And then the other thing we see at the end is outside the multiverse, or we're in Multiverse 2, Pariah's monologuing and talking about dying worlds, usual stuff. But he says we need more heroes from Earth Zero, and it looks like he's got all of the Justice League, sort of like not dead. They're more like trapped. Like he's absorbing all the powers of all of them, and they're all like in like almost like little Phantom Zone bubbles.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like the Phantom Zone, and they're all like almost like their own personal hell. Yeah, kind of deal. So
I mean, I don't know if you can say this final page is just confirmation they're not technically dead. Like he just absorbed them rather than killed them, but it's cool. But you get some of that classic Crisis imagery of all the worlds lined up, just to make you feel crisisy.
Yeah, and you have Sam Pierre doing the Kirby crackle dots, which is real cool.
Yeah.
That looks real cool.
Yeah, I mean, on the art actually, Sam Pierre I think is a pretty he's like a really upper tier house style artist, is how I describe Sam Pierre, right? Which is not an insult. Like I think he's really good.
And he gets to draw like just about all my favorite characters here, which is real cool. That's why I love these big events, is seeing the artists take on, and even some of the C and D list villains that show up there. It's like a who's who. And then when you look at the vigil, but all the details are there. Like it doesn't look rushed. Yeah. When you're looking through the vigil, you can pick out certain heroes.
Yeah, and it's from the back as well. So obviously there's a reasonable attention to detail if you can pick them out from the back.
Yeah. So I like all that. So no, I like Sam Pierre a lot. On here, he's kind of perfect for a mainline event because he's like kind of house style, but he's really good house style.
in terms of quality. So
yeah, and the big moments, like you said, so like the the vigil, the when Hal swoops in,
yeah, the assault on Titan's Tower.
the Titan's Tower looks great. The John standing in front of the statues.
If I have a minor critique, it's maybe the Hal page. Hal looks a little too angry.
That's Hal's thing.
Maybe you could say that works in context, but it feels like he's been a bit too aggressive with who he's talking to. But I mean, it's just a minor. That's such a minor quibble.
Yeah. Well, I feel like Hal is that because he's talking to Wally and John, and he's like your dad's friend that doesn't really respect kids, so he's kind of a dick to him. But if he was talking to like your dad and the other friends, he's a completely different person. I don't know. Maybe that's just my experience with my dad's friends.
I think what sticks out to me about this is I was curious how Williamson was going to handle it, because while he's done relatively these minis before with lots of these big ideas that have also obviously been building up to this, they still felt like, oh, these aren't like the main thing we should be reading right now. They're kind of like, they feel like ancillary material. And I was curious to see if like his big event that's actually billed as the big event would actually feel like that. And I'd say after one issue it does. I'm curious to see if it maintains that throughout, and if like he's really elevated to the big leagues here, where he can carry an entire main crisis and it feel like a big deal by the end. I think so far it does, and I think one of the things that I love most about it, and it's something that was missing from his other stories building up to this, it is the focus on John and Dick, who of course have two of the better books right now. I mean, Dick especially.
Right, they're like that's what I'm looking for. Like they're holding up the company, tent poles, kind of not financially necessarily, but like it seems like the main story of the DCU is being told through.
Yeah,
Taylor,
I mean, right? I think right now is just a great time to be a Dick Grayson fan, especially, and I think John as well, because there is going to be a time when they are more diminished, right? When the DC decide to put them in the back seat and focus on other characters. And that'll be fine to a point when it happens, as long as they're not forgotten about. But I think if you're enjoying this particular era right now with these characters and what they're doing, and for Dick, it's this like appreciation of his history and really sort of like putting him on the pedestal he deserves to be on because of who he is and all the stories he's had over the decades. And then in a much different way, you've got John, who is still a new character, right? We've only had him for since the start of the show, basically, right? And okay, technically, Baby was in Convergence or whatever, but
we don't. Yeah, that's not really, but it is.
It's not a character yet.
He is. Yeah, well, both of them, like, and you can add Wally in there too, right? These are three characters that have come to prominence because of Rebirth, and we didn't have Wally for a while. Even the whole point of that
Wally's all
special.
Like Dick, and that he should we were upset for a long time because he was not as important as he should feel to be, or just outright gone for a long time even.
Right, but now the fact that he has his own, like the Flash book is going to get a tie-in where he's looking for Barry. I feel like that's another thing.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that he's more like Dick, and that he is this like classic legacy character. He's kind of like what we think of when we think of legacy characters, but it's important that they're also establishing new legacy characters and building them up to be something major. And it feels like they're really putting their all into John Kent. Now, whether or not anyone agrees or disagrees if they're succeeding or not that's very subjective. It's open for discussion. But they're giving it their all. Like he is the Superman in a Superman book. He is interacting with other characters. He has been given one of these center roles in a crisis event. And one of the things I liked about the premise of this event from as soon as they announced it was that the main Justice League are gone, and this is a story where these characters are going to be the ones who have to stand up and like fight most of the battle. Yeah. So I'm quite happy with this after one issue. It felt like a big event. I'm excited for issue 2. Connor would probably shit all over it for some reason or another. I don't know what.
Connor doesn't like things. But being that this is focusing on legacy, and that is DC to me, right? Like, when we bring up Wally, he was the first of the sidekicks to assume the mantle, right? Barry dies in Crisis on Infinite Earths, and he's the one that takes over.
And alternatively, Dick is just the first sidekick.
Yeah,
I think. I mean, someone might correct me on that, but I feel like Robin is probably the first sidekick.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure someone will find something from an old pulp book
Okay, I'll rephrase that. The first one that stood the test of time.
Yes, that's what I say. He is though, and that's what makes him, and John being Superman's son, and the fact that Superman doesn't really have a legacy character. Like, yeah, you have Kara, right? But she's been so on and off. And I'm only gonna take this back to Crisis, right? She's been so on and off in the year since. And well,
that's DC editorial though. Like, Kara should be considered a legacy character, and she like much like Dick and Wally, she should be more prominent in her positioning. Like she very much should be like the number 2 like female character like, after Wonder Woman.
I agree.
That's the status she should have, and don't get me wrong, she's actually relatively high up because she every so often she gets a great mini or a great little like run in one of her books. So it's not like she's not without nothing. Like she does get good stuff.
They've been close with her, but I feel like they're doubling down on John, being like, this is Superman's legacy, and that's the story's being told through him and Dick, which I really like. I mean, they are Superman and Batman for the most part, in ways that their parents aren't. They're Superman and Batman in different ways. Yeah, whereas John's way more aggressive.
Which I did actually laugh when John goes to Jason in New York and messes up his car chase. He's like, "How world's finest of us." Yeah. That popped me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
It's very funny, but yeah. So, and whereas Dick isn't as aggressive and brooding as Bruce, they still have that balance, and I feel like Williamson is a legacy guy, right? Like he was handpicked by Johns to take over Flash.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning though that Dick's not his Batman though. Damien's his Batman.
No, I know this, but like.
No, I know in the context of this book, we're pairing them up because they're going to be the 2 people on the team, right? But it's just worth mentioning that in long-term prospects, like John's Batman, if you will, is going to be Damien.
Yes, and that in a weird way, Dick is almost his Superman. Whereas Dick is that person he can look up to.
That's not a bad way on that, actually.
You know what I mean? So, and this is why I love these characters.
I mean, obviously, Superman's also a Superman, but like, I know what you mean, though.
Right. Going and talking to your dad isn't the same as going and talking to the guy that you're like your cool older brother type, right? Like, I guess because Dick's like that for Damien too, right? Like,
Well, more importantly, Superman was this for Dick.
Right, and that's what I was getting to. So, but yeah, no.
Good luck to anyone who followed that conversation that just bounced around name to name and to name to name.
Yeah, I mean, but this is why I love DC. This is why I'm doing the show right now. It's these characters and what they mean in the grand scheme of things. And even someone like Hal Jordan, who isn't part of this generation, he is the upper generation, and him being involved in how that's gonna, how is that gonna get with Dick and John and this whole team? We'll see. But I really enjoyed this book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the first issue quite a bit. Looking forward to issue 2. We'll see how the tie-in one-shots and the minis with the Titan. I guess that there being a Young Justice / Titan. I can't remember what it's called exactly, but the Young Heroes miniseries that's coming that ties in. I guess it makes a little bit more sense given the ending of this and like Titan's Tower being attacked, that there's going to be something focusing on some younger characters. I suspect it'll probably spin out of what's happening at Titan's Tower, whatever that book is. I could be wrong, but that'd be my guess right now.
Deathstroke does point out that them having a tower always makes it a prime. He knows where to hit them. This goes back to the Wolfman and Perez stuff. So,
but teens aren't subtle.
No, never.
That's very much the point. All right, what are you giving Dark Crisis issue 1?
I'm giving it an 8.
It's actually kind of reserved, to be honest, coming from you.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking 8.5.
Oh. See, I had 8.5 and I dropped it by 0.5 just so it didn't seem like I was, over the top on it.